So today we're going to be going over our Surf Perch rig. I've mentioned it in a few other videos, kind of how I do it, but this is going to be a little more in depth. So we'll go over the actual tying of the knots and the line and what kind of terminal gear I use to make this rig really work. I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos on this channel of some of the surf perch that we're getting, and if you want to get some yourself, this is the way to do it, because I've tried many rigs and I see guys out here trying a lot of rigs, and this is what catches the fish. So we're going to start with 15-pound fluorocarbon. This is just a P-line fluorocarbon 15-pound test. I'm going to pull about 6 feet out. I'm going to use my trusty Gerber scissors. Love these things. If you don't have some, they cut braid really well, and I use a lot of braid you've seen before. So the first thing we're going to do is tie just an overhand knot towards the end of this 6-foot leader, and we're tying overhand knot, and we want it to be about the size of a softball, and this tag end is going to be about 8 inches. And then there's the softball, and the overhand knot, we're just going to continue to put wraps around it. So we're just tying overhand knot over and over again, 8 times. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now what you have is all of these loops right here. These are all the tied overhand knots, and then you have this single part right here. That's the bottom of the loop. So I'm going to take the center of the loop. You can count it. There's 8 wraps, so there's going to be 16 little loops here. And I'm going to just find the middle. You can count them, or you can kind of just guess. Probably count them until you get good at it. And then I'm going to take the bottom of the knot, and I'm going to pull it right through the center of that middle loop there, and I'm going to get this sort of thing. I'll put it on my sweatshirt so you can see it really well. Now as this comes together, you want to wet the knot really well. Got a lot of loops in there, and you have a high potential for friction, and as it comes together here, you're going to see it cinch up and make a real nice tight knot there, and that's the loop we're going to use for our hooks. So we're going to tie one more. We're just going to flip the whole thing over, and this time we're going to leave a little bit more tail, because we want this end to be where the weight is. This end is going to be where the swivel is. We want these loops to be about, this is about 4 inches long, but we don't want them to be able to touch each other, because then you'll get snagged up. So I'm going to put this one about 20 inches away from the other one. Tie an overhand knot, size of a softball, and then we're going to do 8 loops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Find the middle, which is going to be right there. Take the bottom of the loop, pull it through that center, like that. Wet or not. Then we're going to bring it together. Just like that. Okay, so now we can see our loops. They can't touch each other. That's good. So the next thing we're going to put on is our hooks. We're not going to put our terminal tackle on yet, because I'll show you why. These hooks are the size 6 Eagle Claw bait holders. I like the size 6. Any bigger, you're not going to get the fish. Smaller works, but you definitely want there to be enough hook to be able to get the worm on, because it's kind of a pain when they're really tiny to thread the worm on, and I'll show you in a second what I mean. So we're gonna put our loop, here's our dropper loop, and we're gonna pinch it down as best we can to get it as small as we can, and then we're gonna push it through the back of the hook, if we can get it here. And we can't, so these holes are so tiny. What I'm gonna do is a little sewing trick I learned in the Army. You take your tag end, this is where your swivel's gonna be, and we're gonna put it through the front of the loop of the hook, like that. Then we're gonna put it through the dropper loop, like that. And then we're gonna go back through the front of the back of the loop, like this. And we're gonna pull the loop right through, and then pull our tag end out, and we've got our hook going through our loop now. So then we're gonna take that loop, put it over the front of the hook, and make a little hitch so it cinches down on the hook. So there's our first hook. And we'll try it again with our second hook. You can use 3 hooks in most places. I don't like to use 3 hooks because it's a pain to bait 3 hooks. For some reason, 2 is fine, 1 is just annoying. So it helps to grab the knot or the end of the loop and kind of just squeeze it down, try to get a little kink in it, and then cinch it up as tight as you can in your fingers. And look, that time it went through. So I'm gonna push it through, take the loop, put it right over the front of the hook like that, and then I'm gonna cinch it down. It's called a girth hitch. So now we've got our hooks on, and we're gonna find the longer end of the leader and the shorter end of the leader. So I think they're about the same, so it doesn't really matter. And what we're gonna put on one end is a barrel swivel. Barrel swivel is what's gonna tie onto our main line. And a barrel swivel looks just like this. These are nickel swivels. They're not stainless. These are just cheaper. Number 3, size 3. And we're gonna take this barrel swivel. Looks just like this. And we're gonna put it through the loop of the swivel. And we're gonna tie an improved cinch. So it goes through the loop of the swivel, and we're gonna twist it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, lucky number 7. And then we're gonna take this tag in, so we've got it looped around, and we're gonna put it right through the bottom hole that we made, right here. And then we're gonna take that end, and we made a little loop putting it through the bottom hole. We're gonna take that tag end, and we're gonna put it right through that loop. And that's the improved part. And as always, oh, looks like we missed it. Let's go back through it. We're gonna wet the knot, cinch it down, take our tag. Oh, don't use your teeth, use your scissors. We're gonna take our tag, cut it. This tag goes in our tackle box. We don't litter out here because we want to keep fishing. We don't want to ruin the land here. So now we've got our barrel swivel. That's what's going to tie into our main line. And now we're going to tie a snap swivel. And these are just your standard Danielson snap swivels. There's size 3. Doesn't really matter. You can use big ones. All you need to do is clip a big weight onto this thing. So we're going to tie the same knot through the barrel end, not the snap end. And we're gonna put it through like this. See if I can get a good shot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's gonna go through the loop on the bottom like this. And then we're gonna put it through loop we just made, like this. Gonna wet our knot, cinch it down, scissors, cut it. Okay, so there's our tag, put it in our tackle box. Okay, now we've got this is our Surf Perch rig. Got it tied. Barrel swivel up here, hook, hook, snap swivel down here on the bottom. We're gonna take a weight. I've been using a 3-ounce weight lately. Pyramids are great because what happens is they lay on the bottom in the sand and they get stuck in the sand and they don't walk around as much. This only works when you've got a good sand bottom. If you're fishing in rocks, I don't recommend the pyramid because you're gonna lose it. And we're just gonna snap it onto our end of our snap swivel here. And next we're gonna go to our pole. So this is another important piece of tackle. This pole is the same pole I use for trout fishing. 6 foot, ugly stick. It's a 6'6", and it is a medium action. Medium action. We don't want these big, heavy, giant surf poles out here because you can't feel the bite. I've got 10-pound braid on just a little 2500 series reel. This is just an Okuma Avenger. It's just a lightweight 2500 series reel. Spinning. Take our 10-pound braid and we're gonna go through our barrel swivel. Now the barrel swivel with the braid, because the barrel is pretty big, it's pretty thick, we're gonna do more twists. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 11 twists on this one. 10, 11. And now we're gonna pull the loop out so we get a nice hole. Braid is kind of a pain to tie with because it's not very rigid, but that's also the benefit. Put it through the bottom loop. It's the same improved clinch or cinch knot or whatever it's called. Pull it down, snug it up, clip our tag. Okay, now we're gonna bait this thing. And I'll show you what we're gonna use out here. Different days, different weather. These are Gulp, made by Berkeley. Sandworms. And these are the camo, 2-inch, 24 count. They cost about $7 and you can get a lot of fish on a single, we'll find an open one, on a single worm. Catch a fish on the same worm over and over. We're gonna take 2 out. They're moist, they're rubbery, they have scent on them. And we're gonna take a hook. We're gonna take the front of the sandworm. This is where the mold is cut right here. This is the tail. We want this to be kind of floating around. We're gonna take the hook and we're gonna push it right through the top of that sandworm, and we're gonna thread it up the shank of the hook, and you're gonna see it start to curl around. And when it gets about 3/4 of the way up, we're gonna poke it out the bottom like that, and then we're gonna pull the sandworm up so it covers the eye of the hook. And so this is the end result. You got a sandworm and a little piece of the hook sticking out. One more time. And the bait holders have these barbs on the shank. You can see them pretty good right there. 2 barbs on the shank, 1 on the tip. We're gonna push it up. Thread it up on there. You see it start curling around. Poke it through the bottom of the worm and then pull it right over the top. So now we've got a fully baited perch rig. You're gonna reel it up. And the way I like to travel with this, especially out here on the jetty, the rocks, is I'll take my weight and I'll just wrap it around my reel, my handle, a couple of times, so it just hangs like that, and we're ready to travel.